Marvel Studios has been accused of hiring directors and then going out of their way to steal control away from those directors and more or less make them puppets of the bigger studio, which, yeah. Um, what else is there to say other than, yes, this is true? So this comes at us from Matthew Baloney, who recently talked with New York Magazine and Vulture reporter Chris Lee about Marvel Studios and how Marvel is always going out there and looking for little independent directors that are just about to get their big break, citing the likes of the director of Shang-Chi, for example, or Eternals, or the likes of John Watts for Spider-Man, Taika, and James Gunn. These directors who aren't really big in Hollywood and can't really have their demands met. And he says that essentially Marvel Studios goes in there, they get you for cheap because they know they can, because you're making little indie films and you're a nobody. And then once they sign you up, yes, you have a little bit of creative freedom, but at large, you are a slave to the studio and doing what they want, and you don't have much input beyond whatever you've conceived that you're allowed to do. So, I mean, what can I say other than, I think we've kind of known this, right? Like, you're not going to have James Cameron come on board and tell him what to do. James Cameron tells you what to do, even if you're the studio. At the same time, who was James Gunn prior to Guardians of the Galaxy? Sure, he's somebody today. Prior to Guardians, I knew him because I watched a bunch of his films because I liked a bunch of his smaller stuff because he was doing like, indie horror things and things like that. But everybody was like, James Gunn? What? That's a terrible choice. Marvel's first bomb and all this and all that. And you see how Marvel Studios approaches this. They want to control you. And if you say no, you're out and they will replace you. We saw this with the director of Blade. We've seen this with other directors. Patty Jenkins was supposed to do the second Thor film. She wanted a little bit more control, and they said, yeah, why don't you take a hike? We're going to hire somebody else that's going to listen to exactly what we want. It's something that we've known, and it goes from the top to bottom, and I don't think it's really going to change. I mean, I certainly hope it does, because I would love to see more director-specific input that's not necessarily dictated from above. And you see a little bit of that when they get somebody that's a more well-recognizable director. You're not going to tell me that Multiverse of Madness was not a Sam Raimi movie. He essentially made a high-budget Doctor Strange Evil Dead film. That's what he did. And he's allowed to. He's Sam Raimi. But a director like Ryan Coogler, who just came on board, originally for the first Black Panther, he had to listen. And now he's getting a little bit more freedom. But he's never going to have full control because that's not the Marvel Studios way. So, yeah, it's true. They steal control away from small-time directors because they know they can.